Your parents were on the set when you were
Yeah, my mom was
baby.
with my dad too. And,
Everyone, one more time, Larry! Yeah! All right, we got it together, man, we got it. Okay, so I'll hand pass it to you since you're here.
Hi, everybody. Party, party, party.
The question I began with you guys is how did you get involved in acting?
How did I get involved in that?
Yeah, your beginning.
Okay, start with the guy who just sat down, huh? Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're tardy.
Turning to the party. I actually started out as the class clown, sure you couldn't tell. And my social studies teacher, just so you never know where it comes from, she said, why don't you put some of that on stage? I was like, yeah, right, whatever. So she gave me the address to a theater. This is New York, I'm in Queens. So I had to take 2 trains and a bus at 12 to be there at 8 in the morning on a Saturday. I come from a big family, so my mom was like, here's $1.50, see when you get back. So I went there and they were doing The Wizard of Oz, and I got the role of the janitor. And if you know anything about Wizard of Oz, ain't no damn janitor in The Wizard of Oz. I was the janitor. I was the janitor. I sat there and learned all the lines, and as fate would have it, 3 weeks before the show started, the wizard dropped out. I got to be the wizard because he dropped out, and when the show was done, a lady who came to see the show, the girl was playing Dorothy, her mom was a manager, so she came to see her daughter. And she came to see me, and she said, hey, I think you're really good if you want to get into acting, let me know. And this is totally politically incorrect, but I'm going to say it now because it's the truth. At the time I said, I'm not getting into acting because it's for faggots. Now that's wrong. That's wrong, but that's exactly what came out my mouth. And you see how God works. What's wrong with God?
By that time, you hadn't seen the error in your ways, though, and you're like, okay, all right.
Like, I got you, man, just wait.
That's called karma.
Okay, so for me, let's see, I always was in school plays and stuff like that, and loved singing and you know, but I realized that when I was in a play, like when I was 10 or 11 or whatever, and I was up there on stage, I was getting applause for my feelings and for whatever the character was, you know, however I created my character at 11. But anyway, like I was like, this works, because at home, in the house, the family system, there was no room for like feelings or, you know, like being kind of an individual. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna stay over on this side and be in the theater and, you know, plays and movies. So that led to becoming a teenage model at 14, 15, and I was living in New Jersey, so I went into New York City, and that seemed to happen really easily at the time. And then I ended up on a soap opera out of nowhere, and that was kind of the beginning.
Soap opera, Ryan soap.
One Life to Live.
One Life to Live.
Originally, yeah. So it was all about expressing myself.
How old were you when you landed that role?
On the soap, I was 16. Yeah. So that was fun.
Where? What part? Where? New York or?
New York. Yeah, I was the original Samantha Vernon. The original Sam. And let's see, so I started when I was 16, and then like 6 months later, they upped me in my age on the show to 18 so that I could be involved with older men, which I didn't mind. I thought that was really fun. So, anyway, we went on from there.
I never wanted to be an actor. My father was an actor. My 2 older brothers were actors. I had zero interest in being an actor. All I could think about when I was growing up was cars. I loved cars. I wanted to be a racing car driver. That was my whole focus until the Cowboys came along. So the Cowboys comes along, and the studio is trying to hire my brother David to play the Bruce Dern role. And Bruce Dern winds up shooting John Wayne in the back. And David said, I don't want to be the guy that shoots John Wayne in the back. But he said, hey, you know what, Bobby, there's a lot of kids in this movie. Why don't you go in and meet on this show? And I said, no, that's all right. I don't really want to do that. Thanks anyway. He said, you got everything to gain and nothing to lose. I went in there. I was scared to death. The scene that I had to perform was a kid who was scared to death because he has to read a poem in front of John Wayne's character. And I got it. And that was the beginning of the end.
I mean, the Carradine family is legendary, and including this guy who's traveling everywhere.
Can I just say, including your daughter, a big fan of Ever, huge. So yeah, so talented.
And a collective of his family are in the entertainment business. It's an amazing thing. It's quite a dynasty of family in the entertainment business.
So how did you start, sir?
Well, I was a little kid. My parents had the two top Beverly Hills hair salons in Beverly Hills. And at the time, my dad's clients were like Lucille Ball, Lana Turner, and Judy Garland with Little Liza. I mean, all these people had the wives of these big stars. And the other rival hair salon was John Peters, who ended up becoming a big producer in Hollywood, like Batman, Superman. He talked just a ton of stuff because he was the boyfriend of Barbara Streisand, who used to cut hair up. Anyway, so I was a little kid running around the studio, running around the hair salon. I was around 5-ish, and one of my dad's clients was one of the top kid agents. And she sees me running around, she says, "Who's that?" "Oh, that's my son." She goes, "Let me meet him." And I come over, "Hi, how are you?" And I had a lot of energy as a kid. And when you're not in the entertainment business, you're a brat. But if you're in the entertainment business, you have personality. So she says, "Do you think you would like to be in, like, commercials and television and movies and stuff?" And so he says, "Well, I'll ask my wife." So I heard that, right? So he goes to my mom, to their house, and he goes, "The agent said, would Brian like to be in these movies or commercials or whatever?" She says, "Absolutely not. They're weird. Hollywood people know." And I go, they said, "Okay, we'll try it out." And lucky enough, one of the first things I ever did was, I'm one of the only living people who did an original Star Trek and have come back to do another in the series. There was a bunch of different ones, but they've all since passed. I happened to be a little kid in an episode called "And the Children Shall Lead." So it was me and another guy, Ron Howard's brother, Clint, who has the distinction of having done an original and gone on to do another in the series. But that's how I kind of started it. And I was just very fortunate just to continue the acting thing. And there was really not a lot of Asian actors. They didn't hire a lot of Asian actors at the time. So I kind of opened the door in a lot of respects for a lot of Asian actors. And I just kind of stuck at it since I had no other talents. I wasn't
No other marketable skills.
So I stuck with it, and that's what happened.
Amazing. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for sharing. All right, we have a lot of audience here. I want to make sure we get to some questions. Anyone got a question? Don't be shy. I can do this all day long, but this is your show. Okay, well, keep going. All right, super. Okay, so going to the nerds, okay, because, as much as Brian knows I love to chat his ear off about diagnosis murder all day, we're not doing that this time. I would love to know, do you guys remember the first scene that you shot in Nerds?
Yes, it was the scene where my father, James Cromwell, and my best friend, Anthony Edwards, and I are all in the station wagon, and we're on our way to Adams College. And we hadn't really, I just learned how to do the laugh the night before, because James Cromwell taught me how to do the laugh. So we're driving along in the station wagon, and I'm counting up how many students there are at Adams College, and if you divide that by 2, that means we have, 3,205 boobs. And we crack up, and Jamie Cromwell, we look at each other, and we do this laugh, and it's coming out in stereo, and it's just hilarious. That was the first day for me, the first day of first scene.
Academy Award winner,
Yeah.
James Cromwell.
Do you have one, Brian? Did you have the mic?
Oh. Yeah, well, first day of shooting, one of the things about nerds is studios are loath to spend money. They don't like to spend money. But we were very fortunate in the sense that 3 weeks prior to principal photography, they flew out the main lead nerds. So, 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks. Felt like 3. But they flew us out to kind of rehearse and to bond. And lo and behold, we did. We created a relationship amongst ourselves right away, and which I think transcended to the balance of the movie. To this day, this is our 40th anniversary, 1984. I can't believe it. I'm not even that old, but
Neither am I.
yes. But we, to this day, we're like a family. We love each other. We're such great friends. And to have that, I think it started with, in the early parts of when we just met, we just got to know each other. And we just grew from there. First day, though, was the scene where we're in the auditorium, and there's all these cots, and we're trying to be picked for the fraternities, and nobody's picking the nerds. Well, Curtis Armstrong, who plays Booker, who would have loved to have been here tonight, but he had a scheduled thing. So Booker and I, we are sitting on the cots, and just to pass time, it takes a long time to film movies, hours sometimes. So we're playing chess, we're playing checkers, we're playing cards, and we're sitting on the cot, and we're there. Basically, the scene was, why did they call you Booger? And Booger goes, I don't know. Anyway, so the director comes by and says, oh, well, you guys are up. So just come up with something. So we're making ourselves laugh with these card little things. And so he and I crafted like this thing about Takashi being taken by Booger. And so what happened is we did this thing for the camera. The director liked it. And so fortunate for us, he said, you know what, just keep coming up with stuff. So between Booger and myself, about 95% of the stuff you see between me and Booger, or Takashi and Booger, was never in the script. It was just stuff we came up with. But anyway, that was the first time.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm having a hard time remembering what my first scene was. Well, I just can't remember what the first one was, because I would always go to the set, whoever was working, and watch them work. And we'd always go,
On the porch with you and that other.
that gorgeous girl that he has a crush on. Oh, that's right, it was me you had a crush on. It might have been that scene. That might have been the first day. When I'm on the porch with the other sorority bitches, meeting with the sorority bitches. And we got to see just how mean Betty was before she saw the light. That was a fun scene, actually. Yeah.
It's hard to remember exactly, but I feel like the gymnasium stuff was very early on, and so the first day. So coming through with the parents, I didn't want to go to college, all that stuff, that whole bit. We must have did like pickup shots or wides or something before that, but that was it was the whole gymnasium sequence was the first like setup, I think. So that's what I remember.
Yeah, and that was the same for us. And I think what Jeff did, which was so smart, was he didn't have us sit together. So we were, though we were all nerds, we were all spaced about the auditorium, kind of like you guys are right now. If I had to pick 6 randomly, you didn't know, you just chose the seat you chose, right? So it was kind of the same way, he wanted that same effect. And Lamar, remember 1983, right now, gay is in, I don't mean that in a bad way. And that was accepted. Back then it wasn't. So, and one of the things that I got to do was be Lamar and not apologize for being Lamar. I didn't realize how big that was at the time. But I didn't think anything of it. As an actor, you're just taught to go for what you want. You know, and the actors will understand it. The other folks, you think I'm just babbling. But so it's just, Lamar was Lamar. It wasn't anybody else. So when he said Lamar Luttrell, and then he said Luttrell Lamar, he got it wrong. It was Lamar Luttrell. So that was our first day.
That's amazing, thank you. Yeah, okay, has anyone thought of anything? All right, now,
Hey, don't be shy, guys. You're
Hi.
it's the whole drive-in, man. Get it out.
Did you guys know 40 years after the fact that the talent show song would still be such a banger?
I didn't think about it, but I knew it was an awesome tune. No question about it.
And remember, and that's a good question because 40 years ago, remember, rap wasn't even really accepted back then. So gay rap was even further to the left back. But we had a blast doing it. I remember them saying, and it's interesting, you know, what you guys see in the finished product is obviously for those guys who shoot is not what you shot. It's the finished product. So there's a lot of things like Curtis. The reason he's wearing a Elvis Presley outfit is because he actually came up and did an Elvis Presley rendition. What song did he do? I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. He actually came. That didn't make the cut, obviously. And then there were a couple other things that we all did that didn't make the cut. And then they asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I just said, "I want to rap." And they were like, "Okay." Okay, let's see what you got. And then the cool thing about this is Andrew did not look like this 40 years ago. He was like 15, and I was like, "Hey man, I want to pop and break," and he was like, "Okay." And he just came on and we did it, and we didn't know the thing that you can't tell on TV is the temperature. And it was nighttime when we shot that in Arizona. If you know anything about being in a desert, I'm sure nobody in Vegas knows about that. It's not exactly warm. So it was what? What would you say, Bobby?
It was at least
One,
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. We shot until like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, and it was like
Also-
maybe 30, 40 degrees. And
yeah, but Larry's being polite. He wrote the rap, and he also choreographed the dance.
oh,
Yes.
that's nice.
Larry wrote it. Yeah.
And if you guys can put your hands together, maybe somebody I know who looks like me could do it. Clap your hands, everybody. Everybody, clap your hands. We're Lambda, and Omega. And we come here on stage tonight to do a show for you. We got a high-tech equipment and rock that'll make you move your back down to the ground. We got Poindexter on the violin, the boys in the blue, the joining in. We got Takashi Presley on the lead guitar, and a Bible. We got Takashi beating on the gong. The boys in the moves, we're joining along. And just when you thought you seen it all along, cause the Lambda fucking talk.
you gentlemen still got it.
Still got it, huh?
So Andrew, did you have dance background? Did you get frustrated trying to teach him how to move? How did this happen between you guys?
There was, you taught me the moves, we worked on it, there was like a special room at the hotel where we would go and meet up and work on it. We worked on it for like a couple of weeks to have it really down. But yeah, I had done dancing in like on theater, on Broadway and stuff, and was used to dance captains and people trying to teach you moves and stuff like that. And I had, actually, when it was still earlier on in my career, so someone was like, oh, you should put him in a dance class or whatever. My parents put me in some like local ballet class. I was like, I hate this. I don't like ballet. I don't know. This is not me. Although now, in retrospect, I wish I could have stuck with it because it's a great skill. But yeah, so I had a little dancing background, but I'm what they call an actor who moves. Right? This dancer who acts. I'm an actor who moves.
From New York to Brooklyn to.
Yes, Brendan.
One of my favorite parts of the films would be anything involving Bernie Casey. I think he did a great job of playing the straight man in regards to the nerds' shenanigans. Do any of you have any cool stories that are involving Bernie Casey?
Yeah, I got one. Bernie, after I don't know if you guys know the film, or don't know it, there was a scene where we were having a party and I had a balloon over my head, and I'm dancing and having fun with my partner. And Bernie says to me between takes, "You're such a good actor." It's a damn shame that all they're gonna know you for is this. I looked at him and didn't understand it at the time. 40 years later, he was right.
Anyone else have anything to contribute? Bernie Casey memories, anything?
I was just a fan. I was like a fan around him. I could barely talk to him. He was an incredible person.
But I do want to say something that goes unspoken about, and that was really kind of the bedrock and the foundation for us even doing what you guys saw. It's that guy over there, Bobby Carey. He's really humble. The stars always set the tone for the film. For those in the film who do film, they know this. The stars are going to make it really easy to shoot, or he's going to make it a really hard shoot for everybody. And I can remember showing up in Tucson, Arizona in 1983. And the first time I saw Bobby and Tony, they actually were dressed. They stayed in character the whole time. So I saw them in the courtyard flying a model airplane. And I remember telling Tim, who's not there, I was like, oh my God, these guys are really nerds. And so what that did though, is he made it okay to just be who you were. That's really important because he set the tone for that film. And he'll tell you this, one of the ways you notice how he did it in the scene when you guys are carrying the luggage to the and tell them what happened. And this is what's in the tone of the movie. When they're saying what?
We're carrying luggage and Ogre's up on the roof, and he looks down, he sees us, and he goes, "Nerds! Nerds!" And Tony says, well, what's he talking about? And I'm looking around, looking for the nerds. Tony says, I think he's talking about us. I'm like, no way. Also, when I got to Tucson, I did actually get there 2 weeks early, and I had to get out of LA because I had my motorcycle, I had cool friends, everything was really cool. I didn't think nerds was cool. I didn't even want to do the movie because it had the word nerd in the title. And so I said to the studio, I said, I got to go to the location early so I can find this character. So I brought this model airplane kit with me because I thought that's kind of like the robot kit that he shows up with. And I really wanted to build this model airplane. So I'm working on the airplane, and I haven't left my hotel room. I've been there 3 or 4 days. I've been ordering room service. And I won't leave the hotel room because the only clothes I had with me were the nerd clothes. Because I thought I would need to find this guy. Finally, I'm getting cabin fever. I gotta get out of there. So I put on the nerd clothes and I go out the door and I'm walking along, and people are not even reacting. I thought they were like gonna point and like laugh. They didn't even react to me. I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And that's when it occurred to me, we're in college town. They just think I'm an engineering student.
I just want to say, Bobby, if you can tell the story about your audition, because that kind of falls into what we were just talking about.
Okay, so like I was saying, when I heard the title of the movie, I was out. I don't want to hear anything with a nerd in the title? No. And my agent said, no, you should go in and meet on this. It's, you know, this is a studio film. So I went in, I met the director. I had really long hair. I think I broke my motorcycle to the audition. I walk in, we didn't really get along per se. And I left and I thought, okay, that's that. Great, you know, back to tuning the bike. And about a week goes by and my agent calls me up and says, they want you to come in and audition. Because the first meeting was just a meeting, I didn't have to audition. The second meeting, they wanted me to audition. I thought, okay, I'm going to show them. So I went out, I got a regular boy's haircut, which is a nerd haircut. I stopped at an optometrist, and I'm looking at all these glasses, and the optometrist comes out and he's going, can I help you? I go, well, not at this price. I mean, these are $300 a pair. I said, well, you can't just put anything in front of your eyes. I go, well, it's for an audition, okay? I'm playing a nerd. He goes, oh, a nerd. And I'm like, yeah. So he goes in the back of his store, he comes out with a shoebox, he blows the dust off the top, opens it up, and it's full of nerd glasses like they wore on Apollo 13. Like those guys are all wearing these glasses. And I said, those are perfect. So I got the glasses, and I was dressed a little bit nerdy, and I go to the meeting of the audition, and I'm sitting out there in the outer office, and the casting assistant comes out and looks right at me and goes back in. And I'm sitting there, I'm waiting, and she comes out again, looks right at me, goes back in the office. I go, wait, excuse me, I'm here for an audition at 2 o'clock, it's like 2:15, what's going on? She says, oh my God, Bobby? I said, yeah. She goes, come on in. And that's how I got it.
Any other questions? Yeah.
During filming for Andrew, were you allowed to see any of the movies on set?
Great question.
Were you allowed to see any of the boobies on set? Is the question in here?
Yes and no. I was not allowed to see anything. There was a whole thing. There was a whole, well, you know, I'm a kid, I'm resourceful. But no, there's a whole question of like, oh, what was he gonna be allowed to see your mom's on set the whole time? It's like, it's a little embarrassing or whatever. But you know, they kept me from seeing most of the stuff. But I got to get a glimpse of some of the fun that was going on. Somebody said that like, oh, it must have been such an amazing time as a kid on a movie set, and I did. Or he said you must have had the best time of anybody, and I felt like I did, but I know for a fact that these people all had a much better time. Much better time.
Anyone else out there? Yeah.
Are you guys actually drinking during the press tours?
Yes.
This is a great question for Brian.
Okay, well, this is the thing, is that we shot in Tucson, Arizona on a hot day in the middle of this arena. And so the lead actors come in, and the prop guy goes, all right, you have a choice. You can have a soda that we dress to look like a beer, or you can have cold beers if you want. And I go, what are you, stupid? Of course I want a cold beer. So I just neglected to remember that when you film, you have take after take after take. Next shot, take after take after take. Next shot, take after take after take. And so, I'll give just an example. There was a scene where Bobby, Tim Busfield, and Anthony Edwards were in a row, and they gave me this bill. And every time, what happened is, you're the camera, right? They're here, and I'm on a tricycle. There's somebody behind me pushing me in. The director says, we're just going to keep the camera rolling, and you just keep coming up with stuff. So I roll me in, drink a beer. Oh man, they're not going to, I come up with, they can't beat me down, whatever. They pull me back out, again, another beer. I come up with something, blah, blah, blah. Well, another take, and another take. So finally, roll me in. How you doing, guy? He goes, how you doing, Takashi? And I go, oh, fucking right. That wasn't in the script, that was the beer talking.
Any other audience questions out there?
What point did it really like?
The point of was probably like 5 minutes ago. Like I still can't believe like that we're all here 40 years later. It's like that was totally unexpected, never expected, and it surprises me, every moment. So.
Well, also the studio, they came up with this movie, I think kind of at the last minute, and they needed to fill 10 weeks of production time. So they sent us off to Arizona and they kind of left us alone. I don't remember there being studio executives on that set. And we ran with it. It was basically a film, we filmed a party. It was a party.
Yeah, and for me, it was, we went to a screening at 20th Century Fox. And I'm not kicking back to Bobby on this, but for me, it was when we sat in a theater, and of course, you have to remember, you're shooting nerds. And a couple seconds before I get to that. First, and this is really Jeff Canoe's credit to him, is I only have, when I read the script, 2 lines in the whole script. So for you guys who think a small role is not worth getting, get the role. It can increase and change and morph into things you cannot believe. So get your ego out the way. There's an old saying, there's no small roles, there's only small actors. You don't know what's going to turn into. And this is a side note, but I just got to say this to show you how this changes. Miami Vice, everybody remembers that show? Yeah. Was Don Johnson and
The other guy.
my point. It started out as Philip Michael Johnson as the star.
Yeah.
He ran into issues, substance issues. Don Johnson was supposed to be the sidekick, and what happened? So you don't know, guys. You don't know what it's going to turn into. So I thought there was going to be 2 lines. I technically froze. Like, I only got 2 lines in this bitch. I mean, that was my ego talking, not me. But it changed, and Jeff was smart enough to let us go. And the other thing that Bob said was that, they left us alone. And we had folks like Tim Busfield, we had folks like Bobby Carradine and Andrew Cassis and Julie and Brian Tucci, who were willing to come up with stuff and bits like Brian Tucci. And here in the Divine Way, they let us do that. And it was available. But now back to the answer to the question. I'm sitting in the theater in the back because you don't want to be in the front if it's a bad one. So I'm sitting in the back and people are laughing their ass off. And I remember us all looking at each other and go, oh my God, it's funny. And I'm going to give it to Bobby for the rest of the story.
No, I mean, it was a rough cut. It wasn't all the way rough. It was maybe halfway to being finished. And we're at a screening room on the lot at 20th Century Fox. And the lights come up, and one of the executives who was in charge of putting the movie, like placing the movie in movie theaters across the country, I overheard him say, piece of shit. And I was really depressed about that. And as a result, this guy put the film out in 600 or 700 theaters. It blew the roof off of every one of them. And other studios were calling the studio up on the Monday after the opening weekend and saying, why didn't you guys open this wide? Didn't you know you have? And I thought, well, that's cool. And that guy got fired.
Did anyone else want to contribute to that? When did you know it was like, it? That was the question, right? No?
We didn't know.
You didn't?
No, you don't know. You don't know. And when as an actor, you're always trying to do the movie that's going to get you to the big movie. And you sometimes don't know that when you did was the big movie, because now the delivery time is accelerated. Back then you did a movie, it didn't drop for a year, maybe a year and a half. So you're trying to do that thing called heat. So you're trying to just do the next year. You don't know it's going to be rough. You have no clue. They always tell you it's going to be great. Just so you know, nobody says, we're doing a bad movie, let's do it. So,
I will say this though, in the first couple of weeks, the studio sees what they call dailies, which is the stuff that we had shot. We were in Arizona, so they would, FedEx it over to the studio and they'd look at it and see whether or not it was worthwhile. For the first couple of weeks, it was not really going over well with with the studio executives. And until finally we had the opportunity to kind of come up with a lot of our own stuff and kind of interact more as opposed to just following the script, that's when it really started to take shape. And that's where the heart came in. And then that's what changed the whole dynamic. We had no idea that 40 years later we're going to be here and be able, and there's some people that appreciate it. Thank you, we love you, thank you. But we never know what's going to be a hit, ever. We never know.
So before we let you guys go, I wanted to give a plug for Larry. We witnessed a little bit, but you are an acting coach, right?
Oh, that's so nice.
And
yes.
so, you know, for aspiring actors out there, you do it in person and online, right?
Yeah, I do all
Where
that,
can people
yes.
find you if they were interested?
Well, what happened was COVID shut down the brick and mortar, and I was like, oh my God, I can't teach anymore. And then we moved into Zoom, and it blew up. So now you can learn from your living room. So you go to tsawonline.com, tsawonline.com. For some of you folks who are interested in this, you can come up on your craft from your living room, learn how to audition, learn if you even like this. For some people, I tell them it's worth the money for the first month just to see if this is something you really want to do. Some people are in love with the idea of doing something until they actually have to do it. For you actors out there, you know, everybody thinks you're going to act and be famous right away. And unfortunately, because one or two people actually have got off the bus and turned into a star right away, that fuels everybody's ambitions. But for the actors out there, it ain't that easy, is it, y'all? No, it's not that easy. So go to TSA Online, that's something you want. But more importantly, we just want to say thank you for everything you do. And I'll say one more thing. They were about to shut this movie down at one point. You guys didn't know that. And Bobby, you probably know more about that than I do. I just want to share that with you guys.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they were about to shut it down because what we didn't know above our heads was they didn't want this movie made. As he said, this was filler for them. This was just something that was in their slate. And this was something they were kind of throwing out. And look what happened.
I just wanted to ask Robert Carradine if he would just do the laugh.
I don't want to break it.